On the 28th of February this year, Dubai's property market stopped being a sales pitch and became a stress test. Iran was struck, and in the weeks that followed, the real estate index on the Dubai financial market, which had more than doubled from where it actually sat in 2023, gave up somewhere between 20 to 30%. Sales activity just stopped. Brokers and the local press were reporting transaction volumes down by a quarter, in some cases close to half. For about 8 weeks, it looked like the whole thing was over. And then the quarter closed. Dubai Land Development, which is a government registry, not a broker with some sales target, reported around 252 billion dirhams of property transactions for that quarter. That's up roughly 31% year on year, and on top of what was already a record 2025. So a market freefall and a record quarter in the same 90 days? I've been staring at that contradiction for weeks, and I think it's the most useful thing to happen to Dubai property in a decade. Because a shock does something a brochure never will. It shows you which claims hold when things go wrong and which ones only ever worked when nothing did. So that's what I want to do today. Take the pitch apart piece by piece against what the data actually says. The land department's numbers, ValuStrat's 2026 outlook, residential rental index, Knight Frank's research, and work out what survived February and what was always shakier than the market let on. By the way, I'm Nikhil. I'm a chartered accountant by profession with nearly 2 decades of experience with EY, PwC, and one of India's top wealth management firm before launching my own startup. And this is Finicky, where I simplify money the same way I practice it. First of all, let me give Dubai its due first, because 2 things did hold, and those are the 2 things that actually matter. The tax structure actually held. No annual property tax, no local capital gains tax when you sell, no Emirati level tax on your rental income. That isn't a promise anybody made you. It's how the system is built, and February didn't move it an inch. Your ownership is real too. Registered freehold with the Dubai Land Development, and that registry kept working straight through the disruption. Plenty of marketing go opaque exactly when you need them transparent. This one didn't, and the depth held. Activity fell off a cliff at peak of the panic, and the quarter still closed at 252 billion dirhams, up 31%. You don't get that from a shallow market. You get it from a buyer base big enough to absorb a genuine geopolitical shock without anyone having to dump property. So the safe, tax-friendly, well-connected half of the story earned its stripes. Now the other half. In fact, let's actually buy a flat. Forget the theory for a minute. Let's buy one. A compact 2 BHK in a mid-market apartment community. Advertised at 8 to 9% gross yield, the renders are beautiful. The broker tells you the tenant pool is deep. On paper, this is a easy money. Now, watch what happens between the brochure and your bank account. Day 1, before you have collected a single dirham of rent, you pay a transfer fee of about 4% of the property value just to register the thing. Spread that across your first few years and the yield is already bleeding. Then every year after that, service charges for the building and the common areas, maintenance and repairs on your own unit, and since you don't live in Dubai, a property manager who finds your tenants and chases your rent and takes a cut of that rent for that trouble. Then reality turns up, the way it actually does. The flat sits empty for 2 months between tenants. There goes a sixth of your annual rent. Maybe a tenant defaults on you. Maybe the AC gives up, which in Dubai is not a small thing. That advertised 9%, by the time it lands in your account, if things haven't gone perfectly, you are realistically looking at 5 to 6%. And then, even though Dubai took nothing from you, your home country walks in and takes its cut. We'll come to that because it's the single most expensive mistake I see NRIs make on this, and almost nobody sees it coming. But even before tax, look at what you have landed. That 9% is now around 5 or 6%, which is roughly what a decent fixed income product would have actually paid you without ever owning a building or a tenant or an air conditioner. That's the whole trick. Gross yield gets you to sign. Net yield is what you actually live on. And I have not even got to the annoying part yet. That entire calculation assumed rent stays where they are. They aren't. Dubai's residential index had Dubai's rents growing at about 6.2% year on year in December 2025. By April 2026, that was down to around 1.5%. Now, Global Property Guide's 2026 analysis reports the same slowdown. That's not a forecast, that's happening. And notice the dates, it started before February. The conflict didn't cause this, the conflict just made everybody finally look at it. Two things are behind this: regulations, mainly RERA's rental index, and the caps on how much a landlord can push rent up at renewal, and supply, which is quietly handing the negotiation power back to tenants. ValuStrat's Dubai outlook for 2026 puts it about as plainly as a research house ever will. After roughly 20% capital growth in 2025, they expect the capital gain to cool to around 10% this year. And the rental growth, they expect it to go essentially flat, zero. Affordability and supply both biting at the same time. So the 9% was never 9%, and the rent sitting underneath it had stopped growing, at least in the short term. Now, before we get to where all the new supply is actually coming up, a small request while I have you. If this is helping you, hit the like button and also the hype button next to it if you can see one. That genuinely helps this video reach more NRIs who are quietly running the same numbers you are and hoping they've got them right. And something little bigger. Over the last few videos, I floated an idea. A podcast with our own community where real NRIs come on and talk through this situation they're actually stuck in. Not theory, the real thing. The Dubai flat they are halfway through paying for, the RNOR window nobody told them about, where their money should sit, property back home, when to finally move back for good, and so on and so forth. See, and the point isn't to discuss it. The point is to sit down together and solve as much of it as we possibly can in that one conversation. The response to that idea was genuinely encouraging, so my team is actually building it now. If you want to be part of that conversation streamed right here on the channel, there's a Google form in the description. Tell me your story and my team will reach out to you. Now back to the supply point. The 2026 outlook reports mostly lands in the same range, somewhere around 100,000 to 120,000 new units across Dubai over the next few years. What almost nobody tells you is that this supply isn't spread out. It's piled into apartments-led communities. JVC, Business Bay, Dubai South, Mohammed bin Rashid City, the Dubai land districts. In several of those pockets, the number of new homes coming is already running ahead of annual demand. And it compounds because off-plan is now the majority of Dubai's transactions by volume. Most buyers today are buying a building that doesn't exist yet. So think about how that actually plays out. 4 developers launch towers on more or less the same street within a short window. While the cranes are up, it all looks spectacular. Then thousands of apartments complete roughly at the same time, and suddenly it's landlords competing for tenants instead of tenants competing for homes. Rents soften, yields compress, and if enough investors decide to put out at once, prices follow them down. Now let's come back to our 2 BHK. It didn't drop from 9% to 6% just because of cost. It can drop further because 3 identical towers handed over on the same road in the same year. Let me be careful here before this one gets blown up into a doom story, and it isn't one. This is an apartment problem, not a Dubai problem. ValuStrat's own forecast makes that unusually clear. For 2026, they see villa and townhouse prices up around 17.7% against maybe 7 or 8% for apartments, with the city-wide range landing at nearly 10%. Established villa communities and genuinely scarce waterfront are completely different market. You can't manufacture more land. So it's a 2 totally different assets within the same city. And the headline number you keep seeing is an average of the 2, which means it describes neither of them. Here's what makes the next risk so dangerous. It doesn't look like a risk. Fly to Dubai today, drive past these projects, you will see cranes, you will see workers, you will see towers going up. Construction is continuing. On the ground, everything looks exactly the way the brochure said it would. But when you buy off plan, and remember off plan is now most of its market, you are not buying a building, you are buying a promise. And the promise is only as good as the balance sheet standing behind it. Think about what you are actually exposed to. You have paid installments on a tower that doesn't exist. If that developer runs into financial trouble 2 years from now, the crane on that site today tells you nothing about whether your unit gets finished and when. So you're carrying two risks, not one. Construction risk, which is a risk the building gets delayed, and solvency risk, which is a risk that the company building it doesn't make it to handover. And the brochure prices neither. Which brings me to what I think is the single most important decision you will make in Dubai. It isn't the location, it isn't the floor plan, it isn't even the price. It's the developer. MR is listed and government linked, which is the strongest balance sheet in the market. Aldar is Abu Dhabi backed with a track record of handing over on schedule. Structurally, those are about the lowest delivery risk names available to you. That doesn't automatically make them the best investment either. A strong developer can still build you a flat in a saturated district, but at least you're carrying construction risk on its own instead of construction risk stacked on top of a solvency risk. And if you're looking at someone outside that tier, don't panic, just do the work. 3 things before you sign anything. Check the escrow account status on Dubai REST app. That's your money and you should know it's ring fenced. Confirm the project's RERA registration on the DLD portal and look at the developer's actual delivery record. How many projects have they handed over and how late were they handed over? 2 hours, that's what it cost you, and no brochure is ever going to hand you that because no brochure has any reason to do that. Now the tax, and please stay with me on this. Dubai has zero tax, and you have heard it in every reel, every webinar, every WhatsApp forward. And it's true. From Dubai's side, here's what nobody adds. Tax doesn't follow the property, tax actually follows you. So the only question that matters in this is, where are you a tax resident? If you're a genuine NRI, non-resident in India for that year, then Dubai rent isn't taxable in India at all. Foreign income of a non-resident sits outside the Indian tax net. That's clean, and that's the version of the story that the brochures are quietly relying on. But watch what happens the moment your residential status flips. If you are an Indian tax resident, whether you never left or you have come back and your RNOR window has closed, your global incomes become taxable in India. So that Dubai rent now gets added to your total income and taxed at slab rates. 30% plus surcharge and cess for most people watching this. This equally applies to residents of any other country that taxes these incomes, and you get no relief. This is the part that catches people. Normally, when foreign income has been taxed abroad, India gives you a foreign tax credit. You pay there, you offset it here. But Dubai charged you nothing, so there's nothing to credit. Zero tax paid means zero credit available. Same logic on the way out. Dubai takes no capital gains tax when you sell. India, if you're a resident, absolutely does. And then there's disclosure, which is where this stops being about money and starts being about risk. If you are an Indian tax resident, foreign assets go into Schedule FA of your return. The property, the UAE bank account, the rent is paid in, all of it. And not disclosing it isn't a clerical slip. Under the Black Money Act, failing to report a foreign asset can actually attract a penalty of 10 lakh rupees. That's a penalty for non-disclosure alone, sitting completely separate from any tax you actually owe on the income. And in 2026, assume the department already knows it. The UAE exchanges financial account information with India under the automatic exchange framework. The bank account collecting your rent every month is a reportable financial account. The days of Dubai rental quietly existing off the radar are over. So here's the honest way to hold all of this. 0% in Dubai doesn't become 0% worldwide. It just changes who collects and when. And if you're planning to move back to India one day, understand what you're actually building. An asset that's tax-free while you're away and fully taxable the moment you come home. That's not a reason to avoid it, but it's a reason to plan the timing of your return and the timing of any sale before the fact rather than after. And one more thing about who you're actually bidding against. Knight Frank's research is consistent that well over 4/5 of Dubai property transactions are done in cash, not leverage. Think about what that means for you. This market is being priced by cash-rich global capital with a completely different tolerance for pain than you. If your deal only works because of the mortgage, you are playing a different game from the people setting the price. They can sit out a February or a sideways movement, but the reality is, can you? Also, should you buy? 2 questions, not 10, just 2. 1. Can you honestly see yourself or your family in the UAE for the next 5 to 10 years? 2. Are your core goals in your home country already funded? Now, let's not answer that in an abstract. Let's take our 2 BHK back out and see what happens to it in each case. If your answer is no to both the questions, that flat is the worst thing you could own. Your money is locked in a foreign, illiquid asset while your actual life is underfunded. It's netting you 5% before your home country takes its share. You can't sell it in a hurry, and the day you move back to India, the whole thing becomes taxable. My recommendation, skip it, build wealth where your life actually is. If your goals are funded but you are never moving to the UAE, the same flat is fine. It's a higher risk international allocation and it should be sized like one. Buy in a community that isn't drowning in supply, from a developer whose balance sheets you have actually checked, and understand you're taking a 5% net yield with tax on top, not a 9% one. If that still appeals, go ahead, just don't call it a no-brainer. Of course, also price in the appreciation and see the overall return over time. If you're moving there but your home base isn't secure, that flat is a distraction with a mortgage attached. Fix the foundation first. And if it's a yes to both questions, then the same 2 BHK stops being a trade. You are not chasing a yield anymore. You are replacing rent, building a base, and picking up a residency along the way. The 5% net matters far less because the property is doing a job a fixed deposit never could. Same flat, same price, same developer, 4 completely different outcomes, and the only variable that changed was you. And if you're still on the fence, one last gut check. If this property didn't come with the words golden visa attached to it, would you still want it? Because if the answer is no, you're not buying an investment, you're buying a visa and you're paying for it in concrete. Is it worth it? Sometimes. That's my honest answer, and I know it's not the one that fits on a thumbnail. See, the city isn't perfect and it isn't a bubble. The outcome depends far more on what you buy, who built it, and how long can you hold on to it than anything you will ever see in WhatsApp forwards. February didn't answer the question for us. It did something far more useful. It showed us what this market is actually made of. The tax structure, the title system, the depth of the buyer base, all of it took the hit and stayed standing. The rents, the apartment supply, and some of those developer balance sheets were shakier than marketing suggested. Dubai proved more resilient than almost anyone expected, and it exposed real risk at the same time. Those aren't contradicting findings. That's just what happens when a market finally gets tested. So the mistake is asking, is Dubai a good investment? The question that actually protects your money is this. Is this property at this price from this developer in this micro market right for my situation and my plan? Ask that one and the marketing goes very quiet very quickly. If this was useful, send it to one person in your life who can't stop talking about Dubai. It might save them from making a very expensive decision based on a sales pitch instead of a financial plan. And if you want more videos where we take complicated money decisions apart with facts instead of hype, subscribe to Philly King. That's it from me. I'm Nikhil. Let me know in the comments, what is your take on Dubai real estate market? Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.